Hey everyone, I hope I'm audible. We'll be starting a Q&A session with Rushabh Mehta. So just a quick background about our speaker. So Rushabh Mehta is the director and founder at Frappe and FOSS United. He has done his BE in production engineering from Mumbai University and his MS in industrial engineering from Penn State University. He's here to give us an idea about how to get started with FOSS and how to build possibly a career in that. So if you want to get started with it and like are looking to explore FOSS, then what better way to ask directly from the founder of the hashtag one free and open source ERP software in the world. So I'll quickly pass on to Rushabh. Hey Rushabh, you're live now.
Hi, thanks for having me. Really hard to see who all are out there. Uh, how do I see the audience? Is there a way I can
Uh,
see who's online? And
no. It's actually on YouTube live, so you'll have to interact via comments.
okay. So it's live. It's being live streamed.
Yeah, it's being live streamed on YouTube.
Cool. And so cool. At least there are some folks here. I'll do a quick introduction, and then maybe I don't want to give a lot of gyan. From what I gather, you're all college students here, and I can share some of my experiences becoming a software engineer, and then we can have a Q&A. So so I'm not. I'm assuming most of you are in computer science or allied field, and you all aspire to be software engineers, right? And so I grew up in the 90s where the internet was like very early stage. We had text only internet, so no images on the internet. um, and I learned programming through books. So there was no YouTube, there was no internet where I can go and search, no Stack Overflow. And the way you could learn things is by just buying books and learning how to code. And that's how I learned to code. And I'm mostly self-taught programmer. Programming is something I really enjoyed doing, and I realized I enjoyed doing when because maybe I was an introvert, right? I didn't go and watch a lot of movies or hang out with friends. And I stay in Mumbai where like most of the people who grew up with me, they have their native place somewhere outside Mumbai. So they all summer vacations, I used to be alone at home, and mostly with no internet access and no YouTube and no Mr. Beast to distract me. I guess I that's how I learned programming. Um, and it's something I built very slowly as a skill, right? I found this really good book. Like, what really got me hooked is 3D graphics, and I found this book about 3D graphics in Fortran, which is a programming language. And I didn't have Fortran on my PC. It was a MS DOS based PC. There's again no Windows, so no GUI. And there was something called Quick Basics and Quick Basic, and I translated the whole Fortran code into Quick Basic. So the translation really helped me understand what was the code. And it's fun. 3D computer graphics is fun because you get to do some math. You can see the instant gratification when you define objects and planes and edges, and you can recreate a screen on a scene on the computer screen, right? And that was really exciting. Uh, and graphics programming is gets pretty complex, and so it really helped me to build my stamina to write longer pieces of code. Since I was in the DOS age, I tried to make my own version of Word, which is like a word processing tool. And I'm sure all of you use Google Docs or something like that. But so this was when there was no GUI, and I tried to do that. That was fun. I remember creating the whole screen, and I could type stuff, change fonts, stuff like that. But then I didn't plan for scrolling at all. And so you could fill out the page, but it wouldn't scroll at all. So that was real fun. And then I realized that you just need a whole new level of abstraction just to implement something like scrolling. and it. So I've learned things from ground up. I've spent a lot of time doing hobby projects, and that's really how I've built my skill, right? So when I graduated, I joined my family business where we had an opportunity to build an ERP system. Now, an ERP is essentially a virtual representation of how a company runs, right? So if you are in a company, you get orders from customers, and then you have to deliver those orders, and you have to get payments and all of that. So all that information is stored in an ERP system, and that's the system I started building. And I got introduced to open source through Python, very interestingly, not through Linux. And I realized that the moment I saw Python, because I came from the Microsoft world, I realized that Python is free and better than Windows or Visual Basic. At that time, I was using Visual Basic, and I immediately made the switch to Python, right? And I just love the language, the libraries. Everything comes out of the box. Very very productive language for a programmer who really wants to make things right. I'm not somebody who likes to go and tinker with things just for the sake. I like to make things, and for me, it was Python was a really good language to make things and write complex programs. And so I started building this back in 2005, and web programming and web applications were really new, right? Web at that point was just essentially static web pages and stuff like that. And then this whole thing that you could actually build applications that run inside the browser was very new, and there were no web framework. So I started writing my own web framework, which is called, we still use it, it's called Frappe framework. And I did some cool things because I was starting from first principle again, that every object in Frappe framework you can define from the UI. So that was that was a really good hack, and we still use it. It's still in production, and then the ERP system that we built was on top of this framework. So you could define any kind of object, through a UI, say a customer or an invoice, and then it just gives you the power to continuously customize that object also. So when you make an object, it automatically creates the schema. It does all of that, right? It's pretty sophisticated now. It does a whole bunch of things. You can go and look at our stuff. Just look up ERP next, and you'll find our GitHub repo, and there's a lot of stuff there. And then open source happened very slowly. Like I said, in 2005 I started building this. 2008 we put it on Google Code. That was the place where you put open source projects that back then. And then 2011 we went to GitHub. And then it's been a very slow organic growth for us. Basically, ERP softwares are hard and very hard to use and adopt. So trying to make it easier all the time, trying to make it as bug free as possible, as usable as possible, good looking UI, because customer users expect very good looking UI, right? So a lot of hard problems to solve when you make production world class quality software. And just for context, I just started as a like you guys, as a college student with very little this thing, but I persisted for a very very long time. So those of you who want to build things, and as software engineers, you'll have multiple careers in front of you, right? You may do DevOps, you may manage infra, you may do things, right? I mean, if you want to build things, you have to build patience, right? And if you're patient, and you'll do well, that's the thing. And yeah, that's like a brief chat that I wanted to share some experiences. Now, happy to have questions or any any specific things you want to clarify about how open source works, or any questions you guys want to throw it, or anything about your careers also, right? I mean, how should you plan for a career in the tech industry, or if you have questions around that, how do you get a job? This is the time, getting jobs is very easy because the whole industry is booming right now. And yeah, how to pick a good company, right? I mean, that would be another interesting thing. So if you thanks Aditya, you want to start a career in FOSS, which year you are in, just to get an idea. If you can also put which year you are in, that would be really helpful. So if you want to start a career in FOSS, I mean, you'll have to find companies that do FOSS, right? Because you also want to get paid ultimately, right? That's why you want to do a career. And Frappe is one such company. You can look us up. There are a few of them right now. I think Hasura is there. You're in third year, which is great. This is the time you should start looking for internships. We also do internships. So if you're interested, you can look me up. I can share you my details. And so do an internship. We get a lot of interns, very very good interns, right? Third year students, very specifically. Second year students. Very interestingly, we also work with. We also do longer internships, right? Like a full year internship along with college if you want to do. We've done that, and it's worked. It's worked. Not fully, but in many cases it has also worked. That so find companies like you'll find open source companies mostly, and say you want to work on something, and the best way to get noticed is to build some projects on your own, right? That's the easiest way. And build any project on your own, right? Like pick like well, mostly like you're going to work in web technologies because that's what the like most of development happens on the web. So really good to have an understanding of web architectures, front end, back end, databases. Once you have some, like, do a simple project which you can showcase uh, to companies you want to apply to, and that's usually a very very good differentiator because very very few people have personal projects that they can showcase. So look out for FOSS companies, look at the work they do, build some basic web applications. Lot of tutorials out there. Make sure you understand them because any good company is going to ask you really really interesting questions around your work and your project. So yeah. uh, yeah, hi Mohammed. And I'm learning programming, but I can't stay consistent and fall under the loop of repeating same content in second year BTech. Okay. um so what is probably your problem, right? I mean, is it that you're getting distracted, or so programming is something you have to like, it's a skill, right? I mean, some people like painting, some people don't like painting, right? And programming is also such a skill that you have to practice. You have to really enjoy doing programming. And the way to do programming is not to read anything but to actually write programs, and write simple programs. Go to YouTube channels. Again, there are so many channels that teach you programming. Pick a language you like. Python is a great language to start programming because uh, JavaScript is great. There is a lot of tutorials out there. And I would say the way to learn programming is to actually make programs. If you're just reading stuff, then and then the way of understanding concepts is by actually using them. So if you are not if you're not reading stuff, then that's yeah. So yeah, write programs. I mean, that's the best thing I can tell you. Just keep writing as many programs as you can. Simple programs. Make games if you like making games, right? Make simple JavaScript games. Make simple word games. All of that. How can I get ready for interviews? What can I expect? So the first thing you have to realize is that you should do personal projects, right? That's the key. Because if you want to really stand out, mostly, I mean, at least this is the way we hire, and this is the way I know a lot of other companies also hire, is that we don't do an analytic test. Like bigger companies will do analytics and all those other kind of entry tests they have. But for us, very clearly, if you have done a personal project, that is like a huge plus, right? And kind of a requirement now, because we also want to. And the way I give is this: like you would have seen talent. You would have seen talent shows like Indian Idol and stuff like that, right? And what happens is that uh, you know there is this first round where the auditions happen and everybody thinks they can sing, right? They come and they start singing, and and then all of us laugh. It's like basically crap. But then you realize there's some very good singers, right, also in the auditions. And who are those good singers? The good singers are the one who have practiced, right? They are not the people who are just going to. So your career really starts right now. Especially if you're in third year, second year, this is the time you have to write programs. Like forget whatever they teach you in college, that is additional. But write as many programs as you can, and that's how you're going to learn skills. Write programs that you can use, right? Like say write a program to manage your own schedule, something like that. Your own calendar, your own personal diary, your own personal calendar. You can write that. Um, any kind of application, right? You like games, you can write, like, again, like I said, word games, JavaScript games, right? Write anything, just write it, and try to write original stuff, right? Because like original stuff will teach you more than just copying somebody else's code and modifying it a bit. So try and write things from scratch, and yeah, that's the best thing. That's how you get ready for interviews. You don't get ready for interview like just the day before the interview, but you get ready for interview 6 months before. And then another simple hack is make a good resume. So again, right, a good resume means like make sure you use some good template. Make sure that there are no spelling mistakes in your resume. Make sure there is like it's well formatted. Your columns are not taken. I mean, it has to look, doesn't have has to look very pretty, but it has to look very organized. Like you care for it, right? It's like you don't want to show up at an interview, wearing something that's dirty and that looks really ugly, right? So you don't make your resume ugly, right? So that's a really, and you will be surprised, like as a recruiter, so many people make ugly resumes, right? So the moment you make a reasonably good resume, you're already in the top 5 or 10%. So that's like a really simple hack. But beyond your resume, it's going to be your past projects that are going to be the most important. Um, Yeah, Samir is asking, I have to research this properly, but I want to get into systems level programming, designing software to run web tools, but something like bundlers like Git. How can I find a career in that? Okay, Samir, this is really interesting. A lot of people want to do system level programming, right? And the thing about system level programming is that most of the tools are already built, right? Things like Git and stuff like that are already built. Try building Git from scratch again. You will learn something. Uh, and so there are two things you have to remember, and this is just general advice again, not specific to tech, but there are things you like to do. There are and there are opportunities that you get, and the and unless you are an exception, what you should do is take the first opportunity you get and do a really good job with it, right? From my career experience, like ERP software is something I had no affinity to. I had no inkling, right? If you had asked me, I would have loved to write 3D graphic software, right? That would have been my chosen career. But then the opportunity I got when I started working is to make this ERP software, and I learned everything about ERP software from scratch. Web applications. I had no idea about web applications and stuff like that. So get this is your first phase of your career, right? Your first 5 years, essentially. Whatever opportunity you get, your first 5 years goal is to become really skilled, right? And in the long run, what gets you money is scarcity, and you build yourself to such a level that whatever you're doing, you are really good at it. Like, and then once you're good at something, people will give you money, right? That's your first 5 year goal. So if you want to get into systems level, you can do tinkering on the side, but whatever job you get, I mean, of whatever options you have, pick the closest pick a good company where you'll get to learn a lot, where you're in a good environment, where you have interesting problems to solve, right? You're not put into QA or like very, very large companies usually, I mean, they'll put you anywhere, right? Depending on whatever opportunity that shows up. So make sure when you are in an interview, make sure you say, I want to do development work, right? Not QA or not some of it, because I've seen so many talented engineers uh, fall for very, very high pay and then end up doing QA work, right? Which really doesn't help. Maybe you will make some money in the short run, but in your long term, you won't really build skills. So your first 5 years, your goal has to be to build a lot of skills, which in your second phase of a career, like once you are skilled, your career will just fly. So you have to tackle this strategically, right? Your career, you have to think very strategically about a career which will span probably anything from 20 to 40 years, right? So you have your first 5 years, your goal is to build a skill, and whatever problem you solve, like give it your best, become a good team player. Make sure you're valuable to your organization. Make sure people value you, and that learning will be more important than any specific thing you learn. And there are a lot of interesting problems in the world to solve. So uh, I would urge you to be slightly more open in that sense. What problems, and then at some point of your career, when say if you're doing systems. So I had this. Uh, so we had one of my ex colleagues, Pratik, right? He really genius. He loves system level stuff. On his side, he used to contribute to OpenBSD, right? And I think he created the hypervisor for OpenBSD, and that got merged into the trunk. So I mean, he did that on his side, right? I mean, he loved that, but he had a day job where he did other stuff also, and he's currently at LinkedIn. So yeah, I mean, you could do things on the side also as a hobby while you get your day job done. Kanak has a question, which is the best project you have seen till now while taking interviews? Um, so best project that I've seen. So the best projects that we have seen are have very good UI, because UI is unfortunately the first thing you're going to see, right? So we have this thing. I don't know if I can post links here, but so we have this thing on our website where we have something we call, like, make a library management application in Flask, right? And a lot of people do that, and then we have some tests, some conditions around that. And the first thing you see is how well the UI is, because again, it's like, again, I'm not looking for an outstanding UI, but it shows your taste, right? The kind of vocabulary, again, right? Spelling mistakes and bad, too colorful or something like that is immediately a turn off. But that's true. Very interestingly, now you ask me, the most memorable project is this kid. So very initially, we used to do this aptitude test, right? And there's this kid. He came, and he got like 4 out of 20 in the aptitude test, right? Which, or something like that, 4 out of 30. And I said, like, even if you do, so it was a multiple choice. I said, like, even if you did randomly, you can't get 4, right? You should get at least 25% right, even if you're like randomly taking off stuff. And that was the lowest, and then I told him, like, what do you do? Saying, like, and I told him we do ERP, and then this kid says, he's just fresh out of college, that I've made my own ERP. And I'm thinking, like, this guy is bluffing probably. And this is before we did online, right? This is like maybe 10 years ago, where it was things. GitHub was not, like, every student did not have a GitHub account. And I said, like, okay. And I said, okay, fine, you made your ERP. Why don't you get it tomorrow? Then the next day comes with his laptop. He shows me, like, an entire ERP application is made for his family. I think his dad used to run some small business, and he made an entire ERP application for his dad. It was like amazing. So, and then we hired him, right? And then, so now he's doing quite well in his career, right? He's made a framework on top of Laravel, which is also an open source framework on top of Laravel. So I don't know how well that's doing, but very, very talented engineer. So how do you, Sarang is asking, how do you stop yourself from getting complacent for such long time in the structure? I mean, so I'm assuming in a long career, right? I've been writing code for a very long time. So I mean, you have to have high aspirations in life. That's I mean, don't, at least this works for me. We really want to do outstanding work, and it's very hard. It's like, you it's like, if you want to climb Mount Everest, it's very, very hard to do that, right? And we want to create really, really good quality software, and making that software is hard. And it's and then we've built a lot of stuff, and then I also started this company, which is another project, like a software project, and that keeps me going. So we do open source stuff. We create a lot of impact. That keeps me interested. These days I don't code as much, but I give reviews and feedback. But I don't like code reviews either, because I'm more of a coder and I don't like to read other people's code. But But I can give a lot of feedback on UX and other skills. That's my core. And also mentoring. Now I have a career. I started my career in 2005, right? So almost 17 years of experience, which I can share with people who are just joining in the organization, and how I can help them build a good career, right? That's my core activity now. And yeah, also on the business side, making sure things are running, customers getting served, we do we're collecting payments and all of that, so that keeps me going. Samir has a question that I feel getting a job that has skill building sweet spot and being able to manage my time on my own and eventually trying to make those a major part of the M is a goal, right? Yeah. Yep. So find a company that allows you to learn a lot. So I mean, because you guys are in a great position to in the industry, at least right now. I don't know what's going to be the case next year, but right now, I mean, I'm sure you're all getting fantastic offers. Those who are in final year or even third year, you can start doing internships. And again, internships, very very good thing. If you can, look for internships. I mean, that's a great way to also build your resume and also learn about the company if you want to eventually join, right? If you're really really keen on a company, just ask them to be an intern, because that will also give you some more insight into joining the company later, and also will give you a chance of showing your skills to that organization so that they can give you a pre-placement offer. um, so yeah, like you said, no, I mean, first find a job that allows you to learn a lot, build skills, right? And then um, uh, and then do side projects that will, and then eventually, like you said, right? I mean, um, eventually two things will happen, right? Either you will start liking whatever you do. That can also happen, because when you're young, you have a lot of ideas. May not, I mean, when you try things may turn out to be very different. So yeah. um, Couple of more questions. IJ Games has a question that, how do you stand yourself among the candidates in a remote workplace? So when you're remote, you have to be a good writer. You have to not only, so two or three hacks, right? If you, whatever opportunity you get to visit your head office or company office, take those opportunities, right? Because remote can never, like, you can never get the feel of a place until you go and actually meet the people. So even while you're doing remote, take opportunities, like especially in your career. If your company doesn't say that you should come in the first month or something, pay out of your pocket. It's going to be worth it. We pay, right, for us. We do remote work, but we don't have a budget on how much our employees can spend to visit our office, right? Because we really understand how much value that is. And so if you're joining remote work, visit, especially in your first month, because that will set you the context of what the place feels like, and what, at least the people who are in office, I mean, they would be the steady people, right? What they are like. And after that, every company has channels. So we use Telegram, and we have our own internal portal where people post stuff. So make sure you're active, you're visible, right? You have to be visible by writing updates. So give a monthly update, weekly update, whatever opportunity your organization gives you. Make sure you use that. And again, it's a no-brainer, but a lot of people who work remote don't communicate enough, right? So make sure you're communicating enough. Make sure you understand what needs to get done, and be a good writer. Detailed writing. So just don't say that I did this. Say that how you address the problems. What are the solutions you tried, and how much improvement you made. So make it like very comprehensive whenever you give written reports in remote work. Nikhil is asking how to find problems to give it a solution. Okay. This is a more broader question. I think problems is something you have to care about, not solutions, ultimately, right? So as software people, we think too much in terms of solutions. So we also have to think about problems, right? For example, there is this one project where we are working on. It's very interesting. We're doing it for a non-profit. It's about helping the homeless people, right? And obviously, homeless people don't use software, but then there are these field workers who work with homeless people, and then the job for us is to help the field workers. Now, how do we help the field workers? We don't know. So you have to talk to the so what we're going to do is we're going to go with those field workers on the field and find out what problems they're facing. So you have to really find who is your user. You have to really spend time with your user and try to understand their problems rather than coming up with an assumption that I will give you AI based location tracking and whatever. That's useless. So never come out with a solution. Say that, okay, what's your job? How can I help you? Right, very very broadly, and then you will find something that that person is struggling with, which technology can solve. So I think this is in especially your college students, you will not get this kind of learning because you're always taught solutions, right? You're never taught how to tackle problems. So talk to people before you write any software. Understand very much, who your user persona is, and spend time with them. So that's how you really identify problems. And go with a blank mind. Don't say that my favorite is vision based something, or for don't go with like ready-made solutions like AI based something, and I'll tell you by clicking the photo of a homeless person, I'll tell you what problem the person is. All this is like all this probably very utopian kind of thinking you shouldn't do. Kanak has a question. What are some good questions to ask back to the interviewer? Okay, great question. Research about the organization, right? Go to their website, find out what they do, and ask questions around what your research is. So Frappe is a democratic organization. We do open source, right? So that's a great question to ask the company, right? Like if you're doing open source, how do you make money, right? And then say we have a democratic culture. Then how does that work? So always do your research about the company. Ask questions about the business they are in. So not just the tech, right? So if you uh, just try and understand, ask questions about how the team is structured, how work gets allocated, how reviews happen, how performance gets evaluated, what do you care in a new joinee, right? I mean, these are great questions to ask. If I join the organization, what are the values that I should bring, or what are the things that I should really note about, right? So do you value teamwork, or do you value excellence, or do you value out of the box thinking? Like what are the things you value as an organization? So you should study the organization, ask questions about their business, ask questions about the work itself, ask questions about how you should contribute to the job that you are being offered. That will also give you a lot of insight whether if you choose to join the company, like what you should do, like how you should position yourself in the organization. Again, Mohammed is asking, as you said, I like more programs with logic, but what should I prefer? Watch video, tutorial, learning, or article journal. Whatever works for you. I mean, like I said, I learn from books, so you could do that. There are a lot of tutorials. Flask has a good tutorial that you can start with. I usually recommend that, and so anything, right? But make sure you spend time writing code, not just watching and reading, because that's low effort work. If you're just watching and reading, you're not doing anything. So don't delude yourself that video dekh liya to boss kaam ho gaya. That's not going to happen, right? You have to go and actually write it, and it takes effort. So if you're not putting effort, then you should not probably do that activity. So any low effort activity, do reflections, right? After you spend an hour or two, think, what did I do? Did I put any effort? Did I do anything? Then if that's not happening, then just yeah do, like, make sure you're pushing your barriers, and you will know when you're learning new things actually. So self reflection is really the key. um, SLS Gaming saying, how do you find ideas for projects or research? I mean, ideas are everywhere, right? I mean, ideas are around you. Like I said, make your own journal, make your own blog, make your own website. These are very easy. And your own website, again, another good hack for interviewing, right, getting selected is make your own website. Like, even rarer than a good resume, right? Is somebody who has their own website. And so that becomes a really nice start. That's a valuable project, right? So along with your resume, you can also put a link of your website, and make something like your own personal manager, like I'm sure you guys use Notion a lot these days, right? I mean, so make something like that, make tools that you would use yourself, so that you understand how software gets built, right? If you're into games, right, you can make a game, right? Something like that. Like, do things that you will use yourself, because that's a hobby, right? I mean, something you want yourself, or for your family, or for your friends, or something like that. So Nikhil is asking which industry is coming with a boom. So the entire tech industry is booming right now, like, huge, right? I mean, it's just the amount of VC money that has been invested in tech companies at this point. To a lot of us, it feels like a bubble, because ultimately these companies have to make money. Like, companies like Swiggy and Zomato and all these companies. I mean, they're losing money, right? Giving discounts left, right, and center, and really not sure where the money is going to lie. But I mean, there is all kinds of companies, and there is this more. So one is traditional industries that are being uh, that are being transformed with technology, like retail, online shopping, online food, all of that, right? And then there is the traditional software industry, which is pure play software, right? Like companies like what we do. Like Frappe is a pure software company. Like, we don't have an e-commerce or a food or something like that, or logistics, or quick delivery or something like that. And so those are getting rarer now. I mean, in India, pure play software companies, you should look up software as a service. SaaS companies are there. There's a lot of, definitely, I would say these companies might end up making more money than your fintech and your food tech companies. Right? A lot of boom in fintech, but again, we really don't know where this money is going to go. Kanak is asking, how do open source organizations make money? It's we do hosting, we do services, we do support. So people who use our ERP software, they some of them, like especially the larger organizations, like to also need guaranteed support, right? So if you're running a large organization with say 100 people, and you have a revenue of say whatever, 50 crore or 20 crore or something like that, then you want to make sure you give 5 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees to somebody who runs your entire organization software, right? So people pay money for warranties, for support, for hosting. These are all different ways to make money. So because you can't directly make money from the software. There are also other ways, like open core. Like, a lot of open source projects are partly open source, so they have closed source modules also, which we don't do, but that's another popular way of making money on open source. So I think Abhishek is asking, why is there so much emphasis on data structures algorithms? We don't have that much emphasis at Frappe, but I think it's because data structures are essentially, they require lot. I mean, these are companies that are essentially testing your analytic skills more than your data structure and algorithms, right? And maybe these are easier to evaluate also, and because these are complex, right? And if you're able to comprehend and explain complex ideas, that shows that you have the intellectual capability to make complex software. So I assume that is why people put emphasis on data structures. They just want to understand how well you can understand complex ideas, because writing software is hard, and building good software requires you to understand complex ideas. So data structures is the perfect space to do that. However, in Frappe, we don't do that, because we give a lot of emphasis to making things. So we really want to see you do projects, and again, build. Can you build an end-to-end product by yourself, right? I mean, it'll be different for different companies. So, yeah. If you don't understand, if you don't enjoy doing data structures and algorithms, maybe you might struggle in the kind of organization they might be. But I think there are enough organizations who may not be very particular on data structures and algorithms. Cool. I think we had a good session. A lot of very interesting questions, and yeah, I think great questions. I hope all of you end up having great careers, and be when you're in college, you don't realize how much your work ethic matters, right? So that's one final thing that if you want to go back with, is that there is usually no shortcut in real life, right? In college, and this is my experience, we just copy assignments, or you get things done. Somehow you just want to you look at your past papers, and you automatically know what your next year's paper is going to come like, right? But in real life, those shortcuts don't exist. And what will really help you is having a good work ethic when you start your career, right? And so yeah, and you can start early, uh, and start building a good work ethic, do programming, because that's, again, remember Indian Idol, right? I mean, you don't want to be that person who just sings without any tune, right? Like when you go and you start working, you should come with skills, because that's what young I've seen a lot of engineering graduates are ready with skills now. And I know you guys are attending sessions like these, means you're showing you're already interested and you're already ahead. So great, great. So yeah, thanks a lot. And we do have internships. If you guys are interested in look us up. I don't know how to share my details, but maybe Aditya will share. So
You can always type them in the comments as well, and I'll share it on Discord.
okay, somehow I don't get a comment. Maybe I'm not logged in. That's why.
Oh yeah, maybe that is why.
Cool, cool, cool.
Okay, so that was a very informative session, and thank you, Rishabh,
Great, great.
for sharing your wisdom with us. I'm sure everyone in the session learned some very crucial things to get their career started. And a huge thanks to you again for taking time off your busy schedule and then guiding our participants.
Sure,
Well,
sure.
that was
Thanks
a
for inviting me. Yeah, and all the best for your hackathon, and also
thank you once again.
okay. Thanks. Bye, bye.
Bye. So the code for this raffle will be MFOSS22. We'll share the Google form on our Discord server. Make sure to enter the code MFOSS22. I'll write it in the comments.